6 in the morning, Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. The phone rang at exactly 6 in the morning. Tom Hanks opened his eyes to the screen flickering in the pre-dawn light. An unfamiliar number. He usually ignored such calls, but something about this one made him reach for the phone. "I'm listening." His voice still carried traces of sleep. "Mr. Hanks?" The voice on the other end was deliberately distorted. "I have something you've been looking for the last 30 years. The original script for Forrest Gump. The one with the real ending." Tom sat up in bed. His heart skipped a beat. Only a few people on the crew knew about this script. "Who is it?" he asked, already fully awake. "That's not important. What matters is that I know the truth. About why you agreed to change the ending. About what happened at that private table read. About the real reason Robert Zemeckis locked the original in a safe." Tom stood up and walked to the window. His hands were shaking slightly. "Look, I don't know who you are or what you think you know." "December 19, 1993, the voice interrupted. "Paramount Studios. Reading room number 3. You, Robin Wright, Robert Zemeckis, and 4 others." After the final reading, Robin burst into tears and ran out of the room. "And you said, 'If we make this, America will never be the same.'" Tom felt a chill run down his spine. He had actually said that phrase back then, but only those present in that room knew about it, and almost all of them had already... "What do you want?" His voice became harsher. "The truth, Mr. Hanks, just the truth. Meet me in 2.5 hours. The Bluebird Café on Venice Beach. Come alone. And yes, bring your copy of the script, the one you keep in the safe behind the Hopper painting." The call was cut off. Tom slowly lowered the phone. His gaze involuntarily darted to the painting, Nighthawks by Edward Hopper, hanging on the wall of his home office. There really was a safe behind it, and in it really was a script that he hadn't opened in almost 30 years. He walked up to the painting and took it off the wall. His fingers automatically dialed the combination to the safe. Inside, among the documents and family heirlooms, lay a tattered folder with the inscription, "Forrest Gump," reading number 1. Tom took it out and opened it. On the first page, in the upper right-hand corner, written in red ink was the date, December 19, 1993. And below that, Robert Zemeckis' signature in bold letters. His phone rang again. This time it was his agent. "Tom, turn on CNN right now." He grabbed the remote and turned on the TV. On the screen was a photograph. The very same table read, "Room, 1993. All of them there, young, smiling, unaware that in a few hours they would make a decision that would change their lives forever. And under the photo ran the line, "Sensation. The secret of the alternative ending of Forrest Gump has been revealed." What has Tom Hanks been hiding all these years? "Tom?" The agent's voice on the phone sounded worried. "Is it true there's another version?" Hanks looked at the photograph on the screen, at his young face, at the folder in his hands. "I have to go," he said and hung up. The dawn was breaking outside. What should have been an ordinary Hollywood Tuesday had already turned into the beginning of a story that America would never forget. 8:30, Venice Beach, Los Angeles. The Bluebird Café was a seedy dive 2 blocks from the beach. Tom parked his nondescript gray Toyota Prius across the street, ignoring the insistent vibration of his phone in his pocket. An agent had been calling every 15 minutes since the story broke on CNN. The place smelled of old coffee and burnt toast. The red sofas were worn. The paint on the walls was peeling. The place had clearly seen better days. There were only 3 people sitting at the tables, an older couple by the window and a bearded man staring at his laptop. "Coffee, sir?" The waitress, a woman in her 60s, didn't even look at his face as she handed him a greasy menu. "Yes, black." Tom sat down at a corner table, placing a tattered script folder in front of him. The phone vibrated again. This time it was Rita. His wife always knew when something was wrong. "Tom, what's going on? ABC News called. It's okay, honey. I'll figure it out. Give me a few hours." "Tom," her voice became serious. "Is it true? About the alternate ending?" He looked at the folder in front of him. "I have to go. Love you." The waitress brought the coffee. Tom glanced at his watch. 8:45. 15 minutes had already passed since the appointed time. "Mr. Hanks?" A quiet voice made him jump. A bearded man with a laptop was standing next to him. "Sorry to bother you. I'm a journalist from..." "Sorry, but now is not the best time." "Of course I understand. It's just, we got an anonymous email with photos from the set of Forrest Gump, shots that no one has ever seen, scenes that didn't make it into the movie." Tom felt his insides go cold. "What photos?" The journalist opened his laptop. A photo appeared on the screen. Tom as Forrest kneeling in front of Jenny's grave. But it wasn't the scene that made it into the film. It was an alternate ending. Where did you get this from? Arrived this morning. No signature. Just a note. Ask Tom Hanks why he agreed to bury the truth with Jenny. At that moment, Tom's phone beeped. A message from an unfamiliar number. Check the envelope under your coffee cup. Tom carefully lifted the cup. There was indeed a brown envelope underneath. Excuse me, he told the journalist. I need to. Of course, but Mr. Hanks. People have a right to know the truth. Tom waited until the journalist had left and then opened the envelope. Inside were three things. The first few pages of the original script with Zemeckis' notes, an old map of Los Angeles with a red dot marked on it, and a photograph. It was from the table read on December 1993. But it wasn't the staged shot that had just aired on CNN. It was a photo taken surreptitiously through a cracked door. It showed Robin Wright running from the room in tears and Tom with his head in his hands. On the back of the photo was written, "You were right then. This version would have changed America forever. It's time to tell you why." Studio 17, Sunset Gower Studios. 10:15. Tom looked up. The bearded journalist had already disappeared. The elderly couple at the window had also left. Only he and the waitress, who was wiping down the counter and deliberately not looking in his direction, remained in the cafe. "Excuse me," he called after her. "Did you see who put the envelope under my cup?" She finally looked up, her eyes filled with a strange fear. "I didn't see anything, Mr. Hanks, and I advise you to forget about that envelope. Some secrets are best left untouched. Do you know anything about this?" She glanced around as if checking to see if anyone was listening, then leaned closer and whispered, "I worked in that studio. December of Devanos to try. Saw Miss Wright run out of the reading room. A week later, my husband, the lighting technician, was found dead. An accident, they said, but he managed to tell me about what he heard that day." Her hands shook as she straightened up. "Get out of here, Mr. Hanks, before it's too late." A police siren wailed outside the window. Tom looked at his watch. 9:30. He had 45 minutes left to get to the studio and find out the truth, or bury it forever, as the waitress advised. He took out his wallet, put $100 on the table, and stood up. "What did your husband tell you?" The woman turned pale. I can't. They're watching. They're always watching." "Who?" But she had already turned away, hurriedly wiping the already clean glasses. Outside, the sirens began to howl again, closer this time. Tom clutched the envelope with the photograph in his hand and headed for the exit. The sign Bluebird above the cafe door flickered and went out, as if saying goodbye. Tom didn't know that when he returned here in a few hours, neither the cafe nor the waitress would be there. Only the charred sign would remain as a silent witness to the fact that the truth always comes with a price. 10:15, Sunset Gower Studios, Los Angeles studio. 17 looked abandoned. Dusty windows, peeling paint on the doors. It looked like no one had been here for years. Tom slowly pushed the heavy metal door. It opened with a long creak. Inside, it smelled of old film and dust. The morning sun, breaking through the dirty windows, illuminated the abandoned sets. Tom recognized them instantly. They had filmed the Forest House scenes here, the very scenes that never made it into the final version. His phone buzzed again. CNN, ABC, NBC. Every major network had been trying to reach him since early morning. But now something else caught his attention. A folder sitting on the old director's chair, just like the one he'd brought with him. "I knew you'd come." A voice came from the darkness of the studio. Tom turned around abruptly. A man emerged from the shadows, tall, gray-haired, in a formal black suit. His face seemed vaguely familiar. "James Porter," he introduced himself, "assistant director on Forrest Gump. Although you probably don't remember me. We were all made to sign non-disclosure agreements, and then we were just written out of the story." Tom looked at him carefully. Now he remembered. This man really was on the set, always in the shadows, always with a notebook, writing down every detail. "Were you the one who called me this morning?" Porter shook his head. "No, but I knew they'd contact you. It's time." "Time for what?" "For the record, Mr. Hanks. Take a look at this." He handed Tom a folder from his chair. Inside were photographs, notes, script pages with Zemeckis' notes, and one worn Betacam tape. Is it the rough cut of that scene?" Tom felt his throat go dry. "That very one. The final scene that Paramount banned from showing. The scene that could have changed not only the film, but all of America." Porter pulled the remote out of his pocket and pointed it at the old television in the corner of the studio. The screen came to life, showing static. "You know why Robin cried that time at the table read? Why she ran out of the room? Because in that version, Forrest wasn't just telling stories on a bench. He was revealing the truth about the Vietnam War, about what really happened to Bubba, about covert operations, about government corruption. But it was just a movie, Tom tried to object, but his voice wavered. Just a movie? Porter smiled bitterly. You said it yourself. If we make this, America will never be the same. Because it wasn't just a story, it was the truth disguised as fiction. The truth that someone very powerful wanted to hide. He inserted the tape into the VCR. An image appeared on the screen. Tom, as Forrest, sitting on the famous bench. But his monologue, it was a completely different monologue. I remember every word of that script, Porter continued. Forrest talking about the secret documents Bubba found, about why their squad was really sent to that village, about the real reason Jenny died. Stop, Tom raised his hand. Jenny died of an unknown disease. It was HIV? That's the official version. But in the original script, there was a different reason. She found out something she wasn't supposed to know. And so, suddenly the lights in the studio went out. A second later, the emergency lights came on, filling the room with red light. They're here, Porter went pale. They've been following me this whole time. Quick, take this. He thrust the tape and the flash drive at Tom. This is all the evidence. Original documents, eyewitness accounts. What happened to that waitress's husband wasn't an accident. They're eliminating everyone who knows the truth. The sound of approaching footsteps was heard outside. Go out the back door. Porter pushed Tom toward the back door. And remember, it's up to you to make sure the world knows the truth. Come with me. Tom grabbed his hand. No. Porter shook his head. I've been silent for too long. It's time to pay for it. The studio door shook from a powerful blow. Get out, Porter shouted. You have evidence. Use it. Tom hesitated for a second, then rushed to the back door. Behind him, he heard the sound of a door being knocked down. The last thing he heard was Porter's voice. I knew this day would come, and I'm ready. The gunshot echoed through the empty studio. Tom ran out the back door, clutching the tape and the flash drive. His phone rang again. This time it was Robert Zemeckis. Tom, the director's voice was alarmed. I've got them. You have to. The connection was lost. 12 o'clock, West Hollywood, Los Angeles. Tom sped down Sunset Boulevard, checking his rearview mirror constantly. The black SUV had been following him for the last 10 minutes, keeping its distance. Zemeckis' phone was still not answering. News of the shooting at Sunset Gower Studios has already hit the web. TMZ has published blurry photos of police cars outside the studio. Porter has not been mentioned anywhere. Think, Tom muttered, clutching the steering wheel. The tape and flash drive were burning in his jacket pocket. Porter's last words about the real cause of Jenny's death were ringing in his head. The phone rang. The number was hidden. Mr. Hanks. It was the same distorted voice as this morning. Turn on the radio. Any station. Tom pressed the button. The DJ's excited voice came from the speakers. Iwa Farm, breaking news from Hollywood. Robert Zemeckis, director of the cult classic Forrest Gump, has been hospitalized with a suspected heart attack. According to unconfirmed reports, this happened after a visit from unknown persons. Tom began, but a voice interrupted him. You have what we're looking for. A tape, a flash drive. The choice is yours. You either bring them to the old editing suite on Melrose in 15 minutes, or the next heart attack could be fatal. How do I know Robert is okay? Check your messages. Tom looked down at his phone. New video from an unknown number. Zemeckis in a hospital room. 2 people in black nearby. 15 minutes, Mr. Hanks. Time is running. The connection was lost. Tom made a sharp turn, escaping pursuit. The old editing room on Melrose. They were putting together the first version of the film there, before the studio demanded changes. Parking a block away, he pulled out his phone. 3 missed calls from his wife, 7 from the agent, and 1 message from an unknown number. Coordinates and a code for the back door. The editing room looked abandoned. Dusty windows, peeling walls. But the lock on the door was new. Tom punched in the code. Inside, it smelled damp and familiar. He sniffed. That smell. Film developer, a voice said from the darkness. Remember, Mr. Hanks? We used it to process those very scenes. A man stepped out of the shadows, tall in an expensive suit. His face made Tom take a step back. Michael Eisner? The former CEO of Disney and Paramount Pictures smiled. I'm glad you remember me. It's been so many years. Are you behind all this? Oh, no. Eisner shook his head. I'm just a go-between. A man who knows the value of secrets and how to keep them. Like back in Devanos to Try. He snapped his fingers. The lights came on in the room, revealing old editing equipment. On the central table sat a Betacam VCR. "Let's see what you have." "Robert first," Tom said firmly. "I want to know he's okay." Eisner took out his phone and dialed a number. "Let him go. Yes, I take responsibility." "Why now?" Tom asked. "Why after so many years?" "Because someone started digging too deep. Porter. The poor guy thought he could live with that secret, but conscience is a terrible thing." Tom put the tape on the table. "This is an alternate ending, but that's not the point, is it? It's what lies behind it." "A smart move," Eisner nodded. "Hiding the truth in a feature film. Who would have suspected? A typical Hollywood fairy tale. Only Forrest was saying things that were too true. About the war, about the government, about how money is really made in this country." He inserted the tape into the tape recorder. Static appeared on the screen. "You know what's most interesting? Bubba really existed, and the documents he found, they were real too." Tom went cold. "What?" "Oh yeah, Forrest was a fictional character, but the story he told, there are still files in the Pentagon marked top secret, marked with the code name Bubba." Eisner pressed the play button. An image appeared on the screen, the same scene on the bench. But it wasn't acting. It was... Suddenly the lights went out in the room. A second later, the alarm went off. "What the hell?" Eisner rushed to the door, but it was blocked. A mechanical voice came from the security system speakers. "Security protocol activated. Destruction of confidential materials is beginning." "No!" Eisner tried to open the door in panic. "It's impossible. The system was hacked," a familiar voice finished for him, the same distorted one that had called Tom that morning. Now it came through the speakers. "Sorry, Mr. Eisner, but some secrets must die." Sprinklers began to go off in the room, flooding the equipment. The tape in the tape recorder began to hiss and smoke. "Tom!" Eisner shouted. "The flash drive. There should be copies there." Tom put his hand in his pocket. The flash drive was there, but when he pulled it out, it was broken. Someone had switched it while he was in the studio. Through the noise of the water and the sirens, another sound broke through. A helicopter over the roof, and somewhere in the distance, police sirens. "This is the end," Eisner whispered, sinking to the floor. They got their way anyway. Tom watched as the water washed away the last of the evidence, washing away a story that could change America. Or was this just the beginning? 1430, Editing Studio, Los Angeles. As the sprinklers flooded the room, Tom tried to save the soaked documents. Eisner stood against the wall, his expensive suit blackened by the water. "It's over," he muttered. "They've won." "No." Tom clutched the phone in his hand. "Not yet." At that moment, the security system went offline. The doors hissed open. A man entered the room, tall, graying, in an immaculate gray suit. "Peter?" Tom recognized him instantly. Peter McNamara, executive producer of Forrest Gump, the man who had been with them since the first day of filming. "Hi, Tom." Peter smiled the same smile Tom remembered from the set. Only now there was something predatory about it. "Sorry about the water, just a precaution." "You?" Eisner leaned forward. "All this time?" "Of course I am." Peter pulled a pistol with a silencer from his pocket. "And you thought this was some kind of mysterious conspiracy? A secret society?" "No, just business. Dirty Hollywood business." "I don't understand." Tom took a step forward. "Why?" "Oh, it's a long story. Do you want to hear it, Tom? Do you want to know how your favorite movie became a cover for one of the dirtiest operations in the history of American intelligence?" Peter paced the room, water sloshing beneath his expensive Italian shoes. "It started in 1992. I was working for a studio, a regular producer. One day some people came to me, very serious people from very serious organizations. They needed a way to hide the truth, to hide it so that no one would ever guess." "The truth about what?" Tom felt his heart pounding. "About Vietnam, about Project Monarch, about what happened to the real Bubba." "For real?" Eisner turned pale. "Oh, Michael," Peter laughed. "Did you really think this was just a good script?" Benjamin Bufford, war photographer. Codename Bubba. In 1968, he captured images of things he wasn't supposed to see. Secret experiments, torture, lists of names. And you know what's funny? When we got the script for Forrest Gump 20 years later, his story accidentally ended up in it. The screenwriter himself didn't realize he'd written the truth. "And that's why you changed the ending," Tom whispered. "We changed everything. We turned the truth into a fairy tale, a simpleton hero running around the country, a love story, the perfect cover. Who would look for state secrets in a tearful Hollywood melodrama?" Peter came closer, his eyes glittering with feverish fire. "But you, Mr. Hanks, you played it too well. Too authentically, people started asking questions, looking for prototypes, and here we are. Porter, Tom began. Yeah, poor James. He found the original photos of Bubba, thought he could blackmail us. Stupid. And what about that waitress's husband? A random victim. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He overheard our conversation in the studio. Eisner slowly slid down the wall. Oh my God, all these years. And I thought I was just helping to cover up an alternate ending. Shut up, Michael, Peter snapped. You knew enough. You just chose not to ask questions while you were making your millions. The sound of sirens could be heard outside. Time is of the essence, Peter pointed the gun at Tom. Where's the flash drive? Destroyed. You're lying. I've known you for 30 years, Tom. You never keep all your eggs in one basket. Where's the copy? Even if there was, Tom straightened his shoulders. Do you think I'd tell you? Oh, yes, Peter smiled. Because otherwise we'll have to start with your wife. Then the kids. The grandkids. We're very persuasive, Tom. At that moment, the lights went out. For a second, there was complete darkness. What the? Peter began. A shot rang out. When the emergency lights came on, Peter was lying on the floor, clutching his bullet-ridden shoulder. Robin Wright was standing in the doorway. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. She held the gun in both hands. Since the day you killed my sister. Sister? Tom looked at her confused. The first Jenny, Robin's voice shook. The real Jenny. Catherine Wright. She found the papers. Bubba's real papers. And She's alive, Peter groaned through the pain. In the bunker, under the studio. 30 years. Outside, the noise of helicopters grew louder. The sirens drew closer. The FBI will be here in a minute, Robin said, her eyes never leaving Peter. Game over. You don't understand, he laughed through the pain. This is bigger than Hollywood. Bigger than the government. This is... Suddenly, the phone in his pocket rang. The screen showed Director M. Tom and Robin exchanged glances. The real hunt was just beginning. 1645 Los Angeles streets. A black Range Rover sped down Sunset Boulevard, ignoring red lights. Robin Wright was behind the wheel, her knuckles white. Tom was next to her, holding Peter's phone. How many are there? Robin glanced in the rearview mirror. 3 cars, black SUVs with no license plates. Tom tried to call the FBI, but the line was dead. They're jamming the connection. Peter's phone vibrated in his pocket. A message from Director M. Clean slate protocol activated. All witnesses are to be eliminated. No exceptions. Robin, Tom showed her the screen. They won't stop. I know, she said, swerving the wheel to avoid the gunshot. 30 years ago, they were after Catherine like that. My sister. Tell me about her. Robin gritted her teeth as she maneuvered between the cars. She was a journalist. Investigated the case of missing Vietnam veterans. Got involved in some secret experiments. Project Monarch. And then she got offered a part in a movie. The part of Jenny. And she agreed? She thought it was a cover, a way to get access to information. At the first reading of the script, she realized Forrest's story was based on real events. Bubba existed. His photos, documents, it was all true. The bullet shattered the rear window. Tom ducked. After that reading, Robin continued, turning sharply into an alley, she called me, said she'd found something big. Too big. The next day, she was reported missing. A week later, I was offered her part. And you agreed? To find the truth. All these years I searched, collected information, waited for the moment. Tom opened the email on Peter's phone. Wait, there's something here. An old email marked Object K. It could be... Catherine. Robin slammed on the brakes, turning the car around. What is it? Coordinates. And an access code to some bunker under an old metro station. Suddenly, Peter's phone came to life. Incoming call. Director M. Answer, Robin commanded. Speakerphone. Mr. Hanks, Miss Wright? The voice was electronically distorted. You are playing a very dangerous game. Where is my sister? Robin almost screamed. Ms. Wright, your sister made a choice 30 years ago. So did Bubba. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. It wasn't just a role, Tom said. You used Hollywood to hide the truth. You turned real crimes into fiction. Crimes? The distorted voice broke with rage. We were protecting the country. What Project Monarch did was necessary. And Bubba, he was a traitor. His photographs could have destroyed... Destroy what? Tom leaned forward. Finish the sentence. The connection was lost. At that moment, another black SUV appeared ahead, blocking the road. Hold on! Robin yanked the wheel, steering the Range Rover straight towards the fire escape of the abandoned building. The car roared as it flew up the metal steps. "You're crazy," Tom breathed. "No, I know what I'm doing. This building, it's connected to the old subway station, the same one where they're holding Catherine." The car landed on its roof with a thud. It was running out of gas. "They'll be here in a minute." Tom pointed to the street where the men in black were gathering. "Look." Robin pointed to a hatch in the corner of the roof. "A service entrance. It leads straight to the station." From below came screams and the sound of a door being broken down. "Tom!" Robin pulled out her gun. "You don't have to come with me. This is my war." "No." He shook his head. "This is our war now. They used my film, made me part of their lie. I need to know the truth." Somewhere down in the darkness of the tunnels, Catherine was waiting for them, and Bubba's documents, which could reveal a secret that the U.S. government had kept for 30 years. "Time to gather stones," Robin said, opening the hatch. "Ready?" At that moment, the door to the roof shook from a powerful blow. They had only seconds left before the assault began. "Lead the way," Tom replied. They dove into the darkness, towards a truth that could cost them their lives. 1830 Underground Bunker, Los Angeles. The tunnel went deep underground. Tom's phone flashlight picked out peeling tiles on the walls and rusty pipes. Water was dripping somewhere. "Here!" Robin stopped in front of a massive steel door. A red light was blinking on the panel next to it. Tom pulled out Peter's phone. "The code from the letter is 1968-311. 1968, Robin whispered. "The year Bubba took those photos." The lock clicked. The door slowly opened with a heavy creak. Inside, they were met by an unexpected picture. A modern command center with monitors, servers, and light panels. On the screens were maps, graphs, some schemes. "Jesus," Tom breathed. "This isn't just a bunker. This is control," Robin finished. "They've been here this whole time, right under Hollywood." The main monitor flashed the message. "Project Monarch. Status. Active." "Tom," Robin pointed to the side door. "There's some kind of archive there." The room behind the door was filled with metal cabinets, hundreds of folders, boxes of films, hard drives. "Look," Tom pulled out one of the folders. On the cover, Operation Forrest, Legend Implantation. Inside were photographs, real photographs from Vietnam, and among them, a young man with a camera, Benjamin Bubba Bufford. "He really existed," Tom whispered. "All this time. Story I was playing." "It was true," said a voice behind them. A woman stood in the doorway, exhausted, gray-haired, but the same fire burned in her eyes as Robin's. "Catherine!" Robin rushed to her sister. "Careful!" Catherine raised her hand, stopping her. "We're not alone." A man in military uniform emerged from the shadows, a general, judging by his insignia. "Miss Wright," he said calmly, but there was steel in his voice. "You've finally found your sister. Congratulations. Mr. Hanks, you've outdone yourself, as an actor and as a detective." "Who are you?" Tom stepped forward. "General Marcus Randall, overseer of Project Monarch, and the man who, 30 years ago, figured out how to hide the truth in plain sight." He walked over to the computer, pressed a few keys, and Bubba's personal file appeared on the screen. Benjamin was the perfect soldier, a military intelligence photographer. We sent him to document our experiments, but he turned out to be too human, too conscientious. "What were you doing there?" Tom's voice trembled. "Creating the future, Mr. Hanks. Testing new methods of mind control, drugs, technology, anything that could give us an advantage in the Cold War." "On your own soldiers?" Robin clenched her fists. "On volunteers," the general smiled. At least officially, Bubba had collected evidence. Lists of names, dates, experiment results. He planned to give them to the press. "But he didn't have time," Catherine said quietly. "No," the general shook his head. "We got there first, but his documents, they were still there somewhere. And then a plan was born, brilliant in its simplicity." He opened another file, a script for Forrest Gump with notes in the margins. "We took Bubba's story and turned it into a fairy tale. We added love, humor, tear-jerking drama. Who would believe that a silly Hollywood comedy hides the real story of secret CIA experiments? And for this, you held my sister hostage?" Robin stepped towards him. "Insurance," the general shrugged. "We couldn't risk it. Catherine had learned too much in preparation for the role. All these years," Tom looked at the screen where pictures of the real Bubba were changing. "You used me, made me part of your lie. And you did it brilliantly. Your performance was so convincing that no one even thought, what if it's true?" Suddenly, the lights went out in the bunker. The emergency lighting came on. "And here come your friends from the FBI," the general chuckled. "Too bad they're 30 years too late." "No," Tom pulled out his phone. They were 5 minutes late. There was a live broadcast on the phone screen. Everything that happened in the bunker, the last 10 minutes were broadcast live on all the major news channels. This is the end, General. Tom stepped forward. America will see the truth. Bubba's real story. The general turned pale. You don't understand. This will destroy everything. The system. A system of lies? Catherine interrupted. It's time for it to collapse. The sound of helicopters and the tramp of dozens of feet came from above. FBI special forces began storming the bunker. The general slowly raised his hands. Congratulations, Mr. Hanks. You just rewrote history. At this point, a new message appeared on the main screen. Clean slate protocol. Final phase activated. 2015. Command Center. Underground bunker. Clean slate protocol. Final phase activated. The message pulsed red on all the bunker screens. The sirens grew louder. What does this mean? Tom turned to General Randall. What is the final phase? The general smiled. Despite the approaching FBI assault, there was a strange satisfaction in his eyes. You thought you had won? That you had exposed a 30-year conspiracy with one live broadcast? He shook his head. Mr. Hanks, you are a brilliant actor, but a naive man. A map of the United States with flashing red dots appeared on the side monitor. Oh my God, Catherine breathed. This is data storage centers, the general finished. Each point is a secret archive, and in 5 minutes, they will all be destroyed, along with the people who know the truth. You can't, Robin rushed to the computer. There, hundreds of witnesses, thousands of documents. Yes, that's why the protocol is called Clean Slate. When it's over, there will be nothing left, no evidence, no witnesses. Tom frantically checked his phone. The broadcast, it's being jammed. The signal isn't getting through. Of course, the general sat down in his chair. Do you think we weren't prepared for this situation? The jamming system was activated automatically. What was broadcast for the last 10 minutes? No one will ever see. But the people are up there. Tom pointed to the ceiling, where the sound of special forces could be heard. They're already here. Oh, you mean these people? The general pressed a button on the remote control. The screen showed footage from the cameras above. SWAT was storming the building, but it wasn't FBI SWAT. Delta Force, Catherine whispered. Military. My men, the general nodded. They're not here to arrest me. They're here to cover their tracks. 4 minutes until protocol activation. A mechanical voice echoed throughout the bunker. Tom clenched his fists. There has to be a way to stop this. Yes, the general pulled a folder out of his desk drawer. I'm offering you a deal, Mr. Hanks. An exclusive interview. You'll tell us how you discovered that the popular movie was based on real events, how you conducted your own investigation, and how you discovered the bitter truth. Bubba's story is real, but not nearly as tragic as it seems. Do you want me to lie? I want you to play a role, the last and most important role of your career. Tell the world that Bubba was an intelligence hero, that his documents are evidence of a successful operation against the Vietnamese communists, that the experiments were performed on volunteers and saved thousands of American lives. 3 minutes until protocol activation. What if I refuse? The general shrugged. Then protocol will be triggered. All records will be destroyed. All witnesses eliminated, including your family, Mr. Hanks. We will stage a tragic accident, a fire, for example, or a car crash. You bastard! Robin stepped forward, but Catherine held her back. 2 minutes until protocol activation. You decide, Mr. Hanks, the general handed him the folder. One lie will save thousands of lives. Isn't that what your movie was about? The man who changed history? Tom looked at the folder, at the screens with the blinking red dots, at the tortured face of Catherine, who had spent 30 years in an underground prison, at Robin, whose eyes were filled with tears of rage. 1 minute until protocol activation. Okay, Tom took the folder. I'll do it. Tom, no, Robin cried. I have no choice. He opened the folder. I have to protect my family. The general smiled. I knew you would make the right decision. 30 seconds until protocol activation. Tom took the documents out of the folder and threw them in the general's face. At the same second, Robin pulled out her gun. What are you doing? The general recoiled. You understand? Protocol halted, a mechanical voice suddenly said. System deactivated. A new image appeared on the main screen. Robert Zemeckis, surrounded by real FBI agents in Paramount's headquarters. Sorry, General, Tom smiled. But the last half hour wasn't just broadcast to the internet. We hacked your system. Everything that happened in that bunker is recorded on the servers of the FBI, the CIA, and the major media companies. Impossible, the general turned pale. The system is protected. The code 1968311? A new voice called out. A gray-haired man in the uniform of the FBI director entered the bunker. The same code you haven't changed in 30 years. Bubba was right about you, Marcus. You've always underestimated the common man. Director Fuller? The general slumped in his chair. But you? Part of the conspiracy? No, Marcus. I was part of a different operation. An operation that started the day Bubba gave me his real ID. Right before you killed him. More shots rang out from above. But now it was real FBI special forces engaging the general's men. You lost, Principal Fuller pulled out his handcuffs. And Mr. Hanks, he played his best role, the role of bait. The general turned his gaze to Tom. You, all this time? I'm an actor, General, Tom shrugged. You said it yourself. I can be persuasive. At that moment, FBI special forces burst into the bunker, but the general suddenly laughed. You think this is the end? He shook his head. Oh no, this is just the beginning. Computer, activate the Phoenix protocol. The red lights flashed on the screens again, and now it was a completely different game. 22-0, Bunker Command Center, Phoenix protocol activated, commencing data transmission. The bunker's screens filled with cascading numbers. General Randall, despite the handcuffs, smiled. You thought blank slate was our last trump card? He shook his head. Naive. Director Fuller rushed to the computer. That's impossible. We've blocked all communication channels. All the big channels. The general leaned back in his chair. But Project Monarch was always one step ahead. Do you know why we chose Forrest Gump? Why we turned Bubba's story into a tearjerker? Tom stepped forward. Because no one would believe. No, the general laughed. Because it was the perfect disguise. While you were making the film, we were using the film equipment to create the world's largest underground communications network. Every copy of the film, every tape contained a hidden code. For 30 years, we were preparing a backup plan. A world map appeared on the main screen. Hundreds of dots lit up one after another. Oh my God, Catherine whispered. This is... Sleeper agents, the general finished. People who don't even know they're agents. The Phoenix protocol activates them all. At once. Why? Tom felt a cold sweat run down his back. What do you want to achieve? Chaos, Mr. Hanks. Absolute chaos. When thousands of people simultaneously begin to act according to the embedded program, the world will plunge into anarchy, and only we will know the truth. Director Fuller drew his pistol. Disable the protocol, immediately. Impossible. The general smiled even wider. Only I know the cancellation code. And believe me, no amount of torture will make me give it up. Tom, Robin said suddenly, remember the scene in the movie? When Forrest talks about Bubba's letters? Yes, but what does this have to do with... Bubba wrote letters every day, Catherine continued. The real Bubba. I saw them when I was preparing for the role. He encrypted something in them. Tom froze. Code? General, you're a stickler for accuracy, right? You'd use something from real history, something no one would suspect. He rushed to the computer, feverishly entering numbers. The date of Bubba's death from the movie, her fingers flew over the keyboard. The coordinates of the village where he was killed. And, no, the general leaned forward. Stop. The time Forrest received his last letter, Tom hit enter. The screens flickered. Code accepted. Phoenix protocol deactivated. How? The general slumped in his chair. How did you guess? I didn't realize. Tom shook his head. Bubba left a clue. In the real letters you used for the movie. He knew the truth would come out someday. More FBI agents stormed the bunker. Director Fuller gave orders over the radio. The operation to arrest sleeper agents began all over the world. You know what's ironic, General? Tom approached him. You lost because of the very authenticity you were so proud of. You wanted to make the film as close to the truth as possible, and that's what got you killed. The general raised his head. A strange gleam appeared in his eyes. You think this is the end? He smiled with bloody lips. Oh no, Mr. Hanks. This is just the beginning. Computer, activate the Doomsday Protocol. The lights in the bunker went out. When they came back on, all the screens showed the same image, a countdown. 30 seconds, the general whispered. I hope you can run fast. At that moment, a new voice was heard in the bunker, a voice that made the general lose his composure for the first time. I don't think that will be necessary. A gray-haired black man in a military uniform stood in the doorway. His face was disfigured by an old scar. Bubba? Tom breathed. But you died in Vietnam? The man smiled. As you can see, not quite. The countdown on the screen stopped. Bubba raised his hand with his dog tag. Some ghosts come back, General, especially when the truth they defended is finally ready to come to light. 23:45. Press conference room, Federal Building, Los Angeles. Camera flashes illuminated the podium where Tom Hanks, Robert Zemeckis, the Wright sisters, and the man the world thought was dead, Benjamin Bubba Bufford, stood. In 1968, Bubba's voice carried through the room filled with reporters. I was a war photographer in Vietnam. I thought I was documenting the war. In reality, I was documenting crimes against humanity. On the huge screen behind them, photographs appeared. Real, unedited footage from Project Monarch. They used our soldiers as guinea pigs. Bubba clenched his fists. Mind control programs, experimental drugs, psychological torture, all under the guise of fighting communism. The room buzzed. CNN, Fox News, and BBC cameras were broadcasting live. When I tried to go public with it, Bubba continued, they faked my death. But before that, I managed to hide the evidence and leave a trail, encrypted messages in letters to my family. Tom stepped towards the microphone. 25 years ago, I was offered a role in a film, the story of an ordinary man who changes the world. I didn't know that I was playing a real life. Project Monarch was brilliant in its simplicity, Zemeckis chimed in. They used Hollywood as the perfect cover. They turned real crimes into fiction. Who would believe that a popular movie was hiding the truth about secret experiments? Documents marked top secret appeared on the screen. Plans for an operation to conceal the truth through cinematography. They held my sister hostage for 30 years. Robin's voice shook with anger. Threatened anyone who might reveal the truth. Killed innocent people. But today, Catherine glanced around the room. It all ends. The truth is finally coming to light. At that moment, the doors of the courtroom swung open. FBI Director Fuller entered, accompanied by agents. General Randall and his accomplices have been arrested, he announced. Operation to arrest sleeper agents worldwide is underway. Project Monarch's accounts have been frozen. But the main thing, Bubba stepped toward the microphone again, is that we found them. All the surviving participants in the experiments. The people who were used as test subjects. Today, they will get the truth. And justice. Tom took an old photograph out of his pocket. The one from the first reading of the script. You know what the scariest thing is? His voice was quiet, but every word hit like a hammer. They were planning to use this method again. Project Phoenix was supposed to create an army of sleeper agents through hidden signals in popular culture. Movies, TV shows, advertising, everything could become a weapon of mind control. The room exploded with questions. Cameras buzzed, flashes flashed like lightning. Mr. Hanks, the CNN journalist shouted, are you saying that one of the most successful films in history was a tool of conspiracy? How can we trust what we see? Tom was silent for a second, then replied, that's why we're here. The truth must be told no matter how shocking it may be, even if it shatters our illusions. What about the film? Asked a BBC reporter. What about its legacy? Forrest Gump will remain a great movie, Zemeckis responded. But now it will also become a symbol of truth over lies. Stories about how ordinary people can stand up to the system. Bubba raised his hand, calling for silence. I have one last thing to say. To those who 30 years ago decided they could play with people's destinies. To those who hid the truth behind pretty pictures. Your time is up. At that moment, a new image appeared on the screen. A live feed from General Randall's cell. He was sitting looking straight into the camera, smiling. You think you've won? His voice came through the speakers. That you've revealed all the secrets? Oh no, you've only opened Pandora's box. And now, the screen went black. When it came back on, the camera showed an empty chamber. Wanted! Director Fuller shouted into the radio. The general has escaped! Tom and Bubba looked at each other. They knew it wasn't over yet, but now they were right, and they were ready to fight to the end. Dawn was breaking over Los Angeles. A new chapter in American history was beginning, a chapter in which truth had finally emerged from the shadows of lies.